Good evening, and welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, December the 30th, 2025. It's Spathon with another episode of The Swamp. The Minnesota fraud drama continues with AG Pam Bondi providing some information on the different types of fraud being investigated. Ilhan Omar, she's back in the spotlight with a reminder of her $174,000 salary and a net worth of $30 million. Because it's the end of the year, there's a number of federal agencies that are publishing their biggest accomplishments of 2025, and we'll check out some of those. And the Somali criminal raids continue, not only in Minneapolis, but also in Columbus, Ohio, and also in Seattle, Washington, where a daycare, quote-unquote daycare, received hundreds of thousands in taxpayer funds, yet the occupant of the building says they've never even heard of a daycare. Also, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has dispersed its first round of $50 billion in funding to rural hospitals across all 50 states, and members of Congress are sharing the exact dollar amount for each of their respective states. The $50 billion was passed under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And a freight train derailed in Kentucky today, causing a significant amount of damage and even involving fire, but fortunately, no one was injured. Also, U.S. Central Command provides details on a series of military strikes in Syria, which occurred from December 19th through December the 29th, where 7 top ISIS operatives were killed and others were captured by U.S. forces. And there's a lot more going on, so we're going to dive straight in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a quick like if you get a second, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the daily updates. And I might read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one below. And every article that you'll see in this video will be linked in the description below. And we've got this to start things off with Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Minnesota fraud. Nick Shirley's work has helped show Americans the scale of fraud in Tim Walz's Minnesota. The Justice Department has been investigating this for months. So far, we've charged 98 individuals, 85 of Somali descent, and more than 60 have been found guilty in court. We have more prosecutions coming. Buckle up, lawmakers. Let's freaking hope so. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, however many it takes to arrest who's responsible for all of these fraudulent crimes that keep happening. So anyway, it continues. I am incredibly grateful to our U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen and DMN News, which is U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, for their dedicated and ongoing work to uncover this fraud and build strong cases against its perpetrators. Here are a few examples of the cases we have prosecuted with other federal partners like Secretary Scott Bessent, who is with the U.S. Treasury. And scam number 1, Feeding Our Future, the largest COVID-19 fraud case charged in the country. They claimed to serve children millions of free meals during COVID, but few, if any, were ever fed. The number that I kept coming across was less than 2,000. Apparently, there's only like 1,600 meals that were served out of millions that were supposed to be served. Also submitted fake invoices and fake rosters of kids purportedly receiving meals. 78 defendants charged to date, 57 defendants convicted. 72 of the defendants are of Somalian descent. 5 defendants are currently fugitives in Africa. Lovely. Millions of taxpayer funds and fraud proceeds were sent overseas to East Africa and the Middle East. And the ultimate price tag? It's only about $300 to $400 million of your tax money and my tax money. And it goes on. In August, we successfully secured the conviction of the Feeding Our Future scheme leader, Abdiaziz Shafi Farah. Farah was sentenced to 28 years in prison in order to pay over $47 million in restitution. I don't think $47 million equals $300 million. So hopefully they've got others who are on the hook for making the taxpayers whole, because, yeah, $47 million, that ain't anywhere close to the amount of money that was stolen. And we've got this article. I'm not going to go through the article because, I'm going to roll through this fairly quickly. However, I will, like I said just a minute ago, I will link it below if you want to check this out at justice.gov/USAO-MN. So it should be pretty easy to find down there. And just last month, we sentenced Abdimijad Mohammed Nur another key player in the Feeding Our Future scheme, to 10 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay millions in restitution. Okay, so they're arresting multiples for that, which I'm assuming is going to add up to 300 million. Not that they're ever going to fucking pay it, but anyway, so, and the crimes in this case don't end here. Looks like we have yet another article. Let me just grab the first bit of the link, usao.mn. Okay, well, I'll just put them side by side, or right next to each other down in the description below. And scam number 2, juror bribery. Not unlike what you would see in the corrupt Somali judicial system, defendants in the Feeding Our Futures case intimidated a cooperating defendant and attempted to bribe jurors. 3 defendants delivered a bag containing $120,000 in cash to a juror's house the night before closing arguments. They promised more money if the juror voted to acquit all 7 trial defendants. They offered this argument, quote, "We are immigrants. They don't respect or care about us." So, yeah, man, bribing jurors makes you wonder, how often is that happening in blue states? Probably happening quite often, yet we never hear of it, especially if the juror decides to take the money, then we're definitely not going to hear about it. All right, so anyway, scam number 2, juror bribery continued. According to the defendants, the government kept attacking Somali culture and was very racist. This claim is ludicrous. The government was fighting the unprecedented level of fraud being committed. You know, see, that's the bullshit that they're playing over in Europe. Well, you have to allow us to commit crimes, we the immigrants, because if you get in the way of us committing crimes, then you're just an evil, big, bad racist. And yeah, they're actually seems like they're kind of taking that seriously. At least the legislators are over there in Europe. They just keep backing down over and over again because they're afraid of appearing to be racist. All right, scam number 3, autism's treatment Medicaid scheme. Many defendants from the Feeding Our Future scam also set up fake autism clinics. Parents in the Somali community reported their children diagnosed as autistic. They brought them into daycares disguised as clinics and received huge financial kickbacks. The state government program underwriting this scam was supposed to cost $20 million. Somehow it ballooned to $200 million at the taxpayers' expense, of course. Makes you wonder, how much is Ilhan Omar, Governor Tim Walz, other Democrats, what percentage did they just skim right off the top? I'm sure it's not nothing. All right, so another link there. And scam number 4, Medicaid fraud. Fraudsters identified Minnesota's medication coverage program for housing stabilization services, a program meant to help people with disabilities, senior citizens, and people with mental illnesses. Then they started sham LLCs and began signing up drug addicts and others in halfway houses for services that were never provided. The program was supposed to cost $2.7 million per year. It exploded to $125 million, and that's per year, folks. Per year. And we got yet another link. We have a bunch of DOJ links down there below. Attorney General Pamela Bondi, one more. So she said, we are working hand in hand with partners like Secretary Scott Bessent, also Secretary Kristi Noem with Homeland Security, and then also Secretary Turner, who's with Housing and Urban Development, also Secretary Lori Chavez de Raymer with the Department of Labor, to continue unraveling this scheme, and we will continue charging and convicting those behind it. Thank you to Nick Shirley and local media in Minnesota for doing the kind of journalism that so many outlets used to do. Yeah, that is not an understatement. The people of Minnesota deserve better. Yeah, one of the actually my number one favorite thing about news media, at least from back in the day, was investigative journalism segments, and those completely don't exist anymore. It's because it's too expensive. We had to spend like 6 months on an investigative team just to run 2 stories or 3 stories. You know how it goes. All right, so anyway, we're going to head back to the original list of these bookmarks. Oh, yeah, by the way, there is a context community notes, and it says Nick Shirley's correct X tag is Nick Shirley with 2 Ys. AG Pam Bondi put 3 Ys by accident. It's actually 2 Ys, not 3, which is kind of interesting how this account is suspended. I mean, I guess like in this context, it kind of sucks because if that was an actual active account, they would have gotten a lot of free traffic heading their way. But all right, anyway, moving on to Secretary Brooke Rollins, 2025 in review, national security. American farmland is not for sale to our enemies. Foreign adversaries led by communist China have increased their ownership of U.S. farmland by 1,000% under the Biden administration. Yeah, you read that or heard that right. 1,000% under the Biden administration. That's how much the communist China has increased in their land ownership inside the United States. often near our military bases. No, it's not often. I think it's something like 90% of all the land that the CCP owns in the United States is within only a couple of miles from a military base. That is not economics. That is a national security threat. Under the leadership of the president and the USDA, they launched the National Farm Security Action Plan to stop foreign control of our land, our food supply, and our future. American farmland is not for sale to our enemies, and it never will be. We will defend the United States of America, always. It just it absolutely boggles my mind. It baffles me completely that there is not already a law in the books that 100% forbids anyone who is not an American citizen from purchasing land in the United States. No matter where it might be. It could be in the middle of like BFE, Nevada somewhere. No matter what, if you're not an American citizen, even if you aren't an American citizen, but you are the head of an American-based company, still not good enough. No, you have to be a natural-born U.S. citizen, or I guess like through the legal process to become a U.S. citizen. I guess that I wouldn't see a huge problem with that necessarily. I just think it's insane that foreigners who don't even have a fixed address in the United States can just come over here and just buy up land. It's absolutely insane to me. All right, so she also posted this video, so let's check this out.
Of American land.
This is not some unsubstantiated boogeyman.
Potential threat to national security.
To be in our food supply.
The CCP has increased their holdings of foreign-owned farmland by 1,000%.
It's more about where the land is.
Across all of our states, but it's really based around a lot of our military bases. We have to get out in front of this. At some point, it's not okay anymore.
If we can't feed ourselves, we will lose our place as the world's superpower. This isn't just about protecting our farmers. It's a national security issue.
The Trump administration is doing something about it, launching the National Farm Security Action Plan,
focusing on strengthening the security of American agriculture.
Today, we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. HEGSAT with Kristi Noem, with Pam Bondi.
As someone who's charged with leading the Defense Department, I want to know who owns the land around our bases.
Folks, we are in trouble in ag.
It's time for our federal government to wake up and step up.
That's why leadership from people like Secretary Rollins.
All in this together, and the president has been resolute.
President Trump for using every tool at his disposal.
National Security Division is actively monitoring foreign threats.
We'll never let any other country control our food supply.
We've got to fight back. They are coming into our country and buying our farmland.
For them, agricultural lands and our farms are weapons to be turned against us.
The attacks on our agricultural system.
We tell China to get the hell out of American agriculture.
Ban the purchase of American farmland by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries. Claw back what has already been purchased. Our cabinet, our administration, our friends across the country are acutely aware of this issue and doing everything we can to solve for it.
All right. Well, like I said, it's just unreal that foreigners can buy land inside the United States. Of course, they still have to pay property taxes and all that, but still, that doesn't even matter. If you want land in the United States, you got to be a U.S. citizen. So anyway, the National Farm Security Action Plan, I'll have to take a look into that. All right, so from Rapid Response 47, from just 4 hours ago, as of this recording, at the State Department, 2025 diplomatic wins. So it's probably going to be lengthy, so I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm definitely going to link it below if you want to go through all of the details. Looks like Secretary Rubio delivering remarks to the press. All right, so let's see what we got here. So December 19th. DS support in Washington, D.C., and Memphis. Oh, man, they've got all these categorized. Okay, so halting mass illegal migration, arresting terrorists and narco-traffickers, securing peace around the world. DS support in Washington, D.C., and Memphis, applying deterrence tools to dismantle cartels, disrupting drug trafficking, getting Europe to pay more for defense, cutting wasteful spending, and preventing fraud and abuse. America First Foreign Assistance, successful reorganization of the department, and renaming the Donald J. Trump United States Institute of Peace. That is a lot. That is a lot to go through. So just out of the sheer lack of substantial time that I have for the video, because I have to try to keep it as close to an hour and a half as possible. I'll just link this if you want to take a look at that from the State Department. But at least I'll read the intro here. So it says, under the first year of President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio's leadership, The State Department has implemented a bold America First foreign policy focused on making America safer, stronger, and more prosperous. Since January, the State Department has helped stop the flow of deadly drugs into the United States, created American jobs by advancing commercial interests abroad, secured additional defense investments from our allies, streamlined foreign assistance programs, and ushered in a new era of peace through strength, all while slashing waste and reorganizing the agency to ensure that our government serves the American people as efficiently and effectively as possible. All right, and it's not just the State Department. I got a couple others. I got this one, and I think there's a couple that are down near the bottom of the list, so that'll be toward the end of the video. So this is from ODNI, the Office of the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. Promises made, promises kept 2025. And this is going to be on dni.gov, and they've got a lot of bullet points. So they've got it all displayed here on one page, which is nice. And they, look at this, they even have, here, let me zoom in on this. They even have direct links to news articles where you can go and read the details that, at least that the press wrote about each of these accomplishments from the DNI. So the ODNI is executing President Trump's mandate to restore trust in the intelligence community. DNI Gabbard ended radical DEI policies and targeted waste, fraud, and abuse, saving millions in taxpayer dollars. And then they've got a whole bunch of different things that they did under that initiative. And President Trump's designation of 8 cartels as foreign terrorist organizations enabled the NCTC to apply 20 years of counterterrorism expertise to detect and deter cartel and gang terrorists. So it's not just the U.S. military down there just willy-nilly just bombing vessels that they believe to be transporting drugs. It's not just the military engaged with this. It's the entire intelligence community that are also engaged in it too. So I'm sure the intel that they're getting before they bomb vessels out there, in whether if it's in the Pacific or if it's in the Caribbean Sea, I'm sure that the intel is probably pretty legit. All right, so moving on to DNI Gabbard exposed bombshell evidence of the Russia hoax, revealing the truth of how intelligence was weaponized by the Obama administration to subvert the will of the American people. We got a bunch of articles related to that. At President Trump's direction, DNI Gabbard revoked the security clearances of deep state bad actors who broke their oath to the Constitution and betrayed the public trust. And yeah, all of them, I mean, if that's, look, I'm sure that's true. Definitely positive that that's a true statement. With that said, why haven't they been indicted, criminally charged, and facing substantial prison time? It's because there's rules for thee, not for me, the two-tier justice system. It's a freaking disgrace, and that's just one of the things that sucks about the Republicans. They don't do enough. They're not tough enough. Let's see. So revoking security clearances for Biden, Harris, Clinton, what else? Bragg, Blinken, and other Biden officials. And Gabbard also strips 37 security clearances over Obama-ordered intel report that launched Russiagate, and 37 officials at Trump's direction over politicizing intelligence. All right, so moving on. DNI Gabbard has strengthened intelligence sharing relationships across the globe, leading delegations to the Indo-Pacific and the Middle East. President Trump pledged to declassify intelligence in the national interest, and DNI Gabbard has delivered with over 500,000 pages made publicly available, including new details on the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and MLK, as well as the final flight and disappearance of Amelia Earhart. DNI Gabbard unveiled ODNI 2.0, a historic transformation to rebuild an elite and efficient workforce in the weaponization of intelligence and refocus on the core mission of intelligence, integration, and oversight. And yeah, so reducing bloat by over 40%, saving taxpayers $700+ million a year. Yeah, that was definitely some good news that came out of the DNI. The era of weaponization is over. DNI Gabbard initiated the Interagency Weaponization Working Group to collaborate with partners across the greatest cabinet ever assembled to expose egregious deep state corruption and win back the trust of the American people. ODNI's establishment of the NCTC Interagency Fusion Cell has streamlined two-way sharing of actionable information between the intelligence community and law enforcement in direct support of Homeland Security Task Force dismantlement operations. And it looks like that's it as far as the main topics go. So again, I will have that linked if you would like to view all the details with that. A lot of things happening in the intelligence community this year. And we're going to go ahead and move on to this from Mario Diaz-Balart, who just simply tweeted out a few American flags. The point of this post, of course, is the U.S. Southern Command, which was on December 29th. They posted this sometime like around 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. yesterday, 6 o'clock p.m. yesterday, so I barely missed it by like 20 minutes. Otherwise, this would have been included on yesterday's episode. On December 29th, at the direction of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Joint Task Force Southern Spear conducted a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel operated by designated terrorist organizations in international waters. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was transiting along known narco-trafficking routes in the Eastern Pacific and was engaged in narco-trafficking operations. 2 male narco-terrorists were killed. No U.S. military forces were harmed. It's the same, basically a copy-paste statement. I mean, it's pretty much the same statement over and over again. I think I've already shown like 24, 25 of these individual posts over the last few months. I think starting in September. So let's take a look at this. Probably going to be no sound. There's never any sound with these. There it goes. Blew it right out of the water. Let me go back. There you see it right here. Can I go back? Yeah, there it is right there. So the first one definitely looked like a direct hit. Second one may have like just been barely, probably still not a miss. I mean, that was a hell of an explosion. Yeah, see, it's clearly it's on fire. Actually, no, maybe the first one was just off by a hair. So there goes that. And probably a bunch of square groupers are going to start floating around in the water. I'm assuming the military is going to probably show up and scoop whatever bales of drugs that they can scoop out of the water. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. Same thing, U.S. Southern Command, or at least the same account, different topic. At the direction of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Southcom stands ready to provide specialized maritime capabilities in support of DHS and the Justice Department operations on the high seas. And they tagged a whole bunch of stuff, the U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Coast Guard, Department of War, and so on and so forth, DOJ, DOW, Operation Southern Spear. So let's check out this video. That's probably the tanker they seized off the coast of Venezuela. Joint Task Force Southern Spear, United States Southern Command. Probably drone footage. That would be my best guess. All right, FBI Director Kash Patel, proud of our FBI teams and partners, identified the threat early and acted decisively to protect American lives. And he's talking about this post from Fox News, Homegrown Jihad. A Texas man was charged in federal court after he attempted to provide material support to ISIS through an undercover agent, the Department of Justice said. Absolutely insane. Texas man charged with attempting to provide material to ISIS, federal terrorism case. So John Michael Garza Jr. allegedly paid cryptocurrency to undercover agent and shared bomb-making instructions. Great. And, okay, so I don't think this is going to be related. Churches and schools targeted by ISIS in Nigeria. I mean, we already bombed Nigeria once. I'm assuming that's probably going to be an ongoing thing. A Texas man was charged in federal court after he attempted to provide material support to ISIS through an undercover agent, said the Department of Justice. Midlothian, Texas resident John Michael Garza, age 21, was charged with attempting to provide material support or resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization. Speaking to Fox, FBI Director Kash Patel said that Garza, quote, took concrete steps toward violent jihad, fundraising for terrorists, and building explosive components. The FBI identified the threat early, tracked it aggressively, and shut it down before anyone was harmed, Patel said. Keeping Americans safe is our mission, and we're executing it every day. And I'm not sure if that's the Texas man or if that's just like an ISIS stock image. Pictures from History Universal Images Group via Getty. Yeah, so there you go. According to DOJ, Garza brought bomb-making materials to a December 22nd meeting with an undercover agent posing as an ISIS brother. Quote, during the meeting, Garza described how to mix the components and offered to send an instructional video explaining how to build the bomb, said DOJ. Law enforcement agents arrested Garza shortly after he left the meeting. The DOJ also said that Garza paid the undercover agent small amounts of cryptocurrency, believing he was supporting ISIS causes, including buying firearms and other materials. Garza was flagged by authorities after a New York City Police Department officer noticed that he followed pro-ISIS accounts, including posting a comment on a pro-ISIS post. So, sounds like it might have just been serendipitous that they happened to come across this guy. I mean, I don't know how he popped up on the radar of the NYPD when this dude's like way down in Texas. Quote, when the NYPD undercover engaged with Garza on social media, Garza described himself as a 21-year-old Mexican-American living in Texas. In their continuing conversations throughout November and December, Garza shared that he ascribed to the ISIS ideology and sent the undercover multiple official ISIS media releases. Attorney General Pamela Bondi called the case a testament to the incredible work of our federal agents who work tirelessly to save American lives. ISIS's poisonous ideology must be ripped out root and stem. Anyone who tries to commit violence on ISIS's behalf will be found, arrested, and prosecuted, said, that was AG Pam Bondi, right? Yeah. So AG, you cannot hide from us. So there you have it. And we'll roll on to the next topic with Dan Bongino, who is the deputy director for the FBI. And he says, as we close out the year, these are just some of the statistics your new FBI leadership team and the working agents in the field offices compiled. Over 50,000 individuals have been arrested by the FBI this year. 30,000 violent crime arrests, nearly double the number from 2024. 1,800 gangs and criminal enterprises have been disrupted, which is a 210% increase. 2,000 plus kilos of fentanyl have been seized, up 31%, enough to kill 130 million Americans. Nihilistic violent extremism arrests are up 490%. Over 6,000 child victims have been located, which is up 22%. And there is a historic drop in the U.S. murder rate. He doesn't have the number specifically, but I believe it's between 20 and 30% decrease in the murder rate over last year. Please read the post from Director Patel for more details on the progress that has been made and is ongoing. Well, don't mind if I do. From FBI Director Kash Patel, prioritizing crushing violent crime. In 2025, the FBI elevated violent crime as a top investigative priority, realigning resources, surge capabilities, and enterprise coordination to focus on the threats posing the greatest risk to public safety, including violent gangs, firearms trafficking, and repeat violent offenders. The CID Violent Crimes Section, VCS, led the charge with multiple tremendously successful operations across the country. Operation No Escape, for example, saw the arrest of nearly 800 fugitives. Project Welcome Home allowed state and local partners to bring 30 violent fugitives to justice, and VCS assisted in coordinating captures of 4 of the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives. This is the same number captured during the entirety of the previous 4 years. Hell yeah. VCS also led various surges across the nation, focused on driving coordinated action with external partners. These operations included Summer Heat, led by FBI Deputy Director Bongino, over 8,500 arrests in 3 months, Coast to Coast, and Immigration Enforcement, all of which highlighted joint investigative efforts between the FBI, HSI, and ERO partners. And local law enforcement partnerships are the cornerstone of our successful everyday police work. We also set up the Violent Crime Working Group, the VCWG, to provide senior leadership with unfiltered frontline insight into the operational challenges faced by agents combating violent crime, bringing us the field-driven solutions Washington, D.C. needs. In all, these surges and regional-focused ops helped lead to a record year for this FBI. And, of course, that's what Deputy Director Dan Bongino had already listed, and we went through. So, incredible statistics from the FBI. Definitely not the FBI that all of us are used to, at least. I mean, they're producing results, they're sharing results, they're bragging about the results, which is absolutely justified, in my opinion. As long as they keep up the good work for the next few years. I mean, hell, hopefully forever, but it seems like it's only going to be as effective as the administration that oversees it. unfortunately. I'm sure it didn't used to be that way, but that's kind of the way it is now. All right, so moving on to Jeffrey Mead. 89% of Somali immigrant households with children are on some type of welfare. 86% of Somali immigrant households with children are still on welfare after being in the U.S. for 10 years. That's not integration and assimilation. That's long-term dependency. Amen. She seems to be talking just for the sake of talking. Well, let's take a look and see.
First things first, I'm actually so shocked that Trump is attacking us. I think Trump should be thanking us in multiple ways, and I'm going to explain. First things first, I think we are a good example of what the American dream can look like. Like, Somali Americans, and it's making me sad and it's funny. Like, I know Somali people are very funny. We're like the class clan who also happens to be valedictorian. Somalis in Minnesota are so successful. I take multiple...
I mean, like, reading the statistic before watching this video just makes it all that much more hilarious.
Trips a year to Minnesota, and I leave so inspired. You have Somali-only, like...
Can you smell all that gaslighting?
Somali-owned pharmacy, Somali-owned everything you can think of, and it's so inspiring to see that what my community could do in just 30 years. Literally, we came to this country... not speaking English, not knowing anything. We're Black, Muslim, we're immigrant, and we're able to be that successful. It should be really applauded.
Something tells me you were probably born here.
Not that successful in Minnesota. 89% of immigrant Somali households are on some type of welfare.
They're not that successful.
Look above my head, you'll see that 23% are on cash. If we go over to food stamps, you'll see that 62% are on food stamps. If we go to Medicaid, you'll see that 86% are on Medicaid. So 89% of Somali immigrant families that have children are on some type of welfare in the United States. 89%. And this is coming from the Center for Immigration Studies. Now, in the vast majority of cases, if someone is on Medicaid, they are a net recipient in tax dollars, meaning the value of the benefits they receive from the government is more than they pay into the federal tax system.
100%.
Again, that means they're a net recipient.
Yep.
They are taking
They're
from
a consumer,
the system
not a
more than they're
producer.
contributing to the system. So essentially 9 out of 10
Well,
Somali
they consume
immigrant
more
families
than they
that have
produce.
children are taking more in dollars than they are giving to our federal tax system. I wouldn't define that as success.
And that brings about inflation.
Let's keep it real. We should also be paying attention to this and just not ignoring it. But let's go back. Look at the light gray. It says Somali immigrant households with children over 10 years in the U.S. So these families have had over 10 years in the United States.
Now, see, what the Republicans in Congress should be doing is passing some sort of a law that would force, well, I don't know if force is the right word. I mean, they probably shouldn't use that word, but mandate that any immigrant who is on welfare currently, well, look, in a perfect world, they would cut them off immediately and say, look, you're on your own. Like, be happy that you got benefits for as long as you did. But, you know, of course, that's not the way the world's going to end up working. So give them an end date, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, however long, and cut them off. And anybody who is not an American citizen should not be getting any benefits in any way, shape, or form. If you want to seek asylum in the U.S., you can seek asylum in the U.S. You just got to make sure that you can take care of yourself. Just try to stay one step ahead of homelessness, really.
And there's only a 3%
just like all the rest of us
in the amount that are on Medicaid and not. So after they've been in the U.S. for 10 plus years, 83% of these Somali immigrant families with children are still on Medicaid.
Unreal.
Again, that is not success. And that's not being racist or hating. That's just
probably reality. Like $50,000,
so please
probably
do not
more
come
than that
preaching in our
per
face
family.
Something that is not true. Anyway, that's all I got for now, guys. Just a reminder, free email newsletter. Send it out every morning. The link is in my bio.
All right. Well, that is absolutely insane. So this guy's account, this is Jeffrey Mead at _Jeffrey Mead. If you want to check out his channel, he's got a really sizable following, 537,000 followers. It's very impressive for X, the X platform. All right, moving on to Autism Capital, Tim Waltz, and it's a long quote, so I'd just rather let him say it himself since the video's
Look,
right
it's
here.
not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the.
Oh, it's all the white man's fault.
I think for
Brain
the
dead.
community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then.
I mean, who probably pays the overwhelming lion's share of taxes, especially when you include those who start up businesses, whether they're small businesses or they become mega corporations. I'm pretty sure that the white man probably contributes quite their fair share in revenue to this country.
Victimizing the community himself by signing them up, because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no
Not to
idea
mention
that was
law
in the
enforcement
program.
protecting
it's
Americans.
asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general. And I think the biggest thing on this is just making sure that we're educating the population. And again, this is 80 people or so that have been convicted in this, maybe some more in that, out of a broad.
He's like, it was just a drop in the bucket. Well, we've got like 20,000 Somalis that live here. It's only like 80 people. Yeah, dude, this is step fucking one. This is step one of probably hundreds of steps, hundreds of stages. There's going to be, well, at least ideally, there's going to be hundreds, if not maybe over even 1,000 different investigations, and you're going to see a shitload of these assholes locked up.
Medicaid
hopefully,
fraud will stretch across all racial demographics,
including
all,
asshole number
all
one,
ethnic groups.
asshole.
So I think it's really important for us to note each community's got this in their own midst, but to blame them and say that they should have been responsible for stopping it, I think that's a pretty hard reach. I think we continue to educate folks about why they shouldn't commit crimes. You would hope that it's being.
Why don't you start with your own fucking ass?
And in our society, but no, I
most likely wouldn't have happened
the Somali
if not for your fucking leadership,
because they didn't do more. I think that's how we got into this, and that's
no, we got into this again, because of your stupid ass incompetence.
Lose the whole plot here. All this work that's being done, Donald Trump brought this to the attention like this is something brand new. This is not brand new, and it's been being worked on, but he made it white hot.
Bullshit.
And, very dangerous.
Oh my God, all this fraud in Minnesota, it's so extremely dangerous because the evil orange Cheeto man brought it up. All right, RNC research 10 hours ago, Tim Walz made Minnesota a sanctuary for Somalian fraudsters. And if you question it, he made you think you were a racist. Here we go.
Better, we all do better. And the idea is of working together, lifting all boats, it works. And so one vote majority continued to pass those things all the way down. The last one on the thing is we had a racist flag. So we got a new flag in Minnesota and
oh my God,
got rid of it. So it mattered.
Yeah, which by the way, the new Minnesota flag looks just like the Somali flag. I mean, if you don't believe me, I'll show it to you. All right, so here's the flags. This is the old flag. Let me see if I can make it any larger. Yeah, so this is the old flag. Not sure what's racist about it. I see who appears to be a human being, maybe a white individual that's plowing a field, and then I see what appears to be a native Indian riding on a horse. Not sure how racist that is. 1819, 1893. Yeah, that's probably what Minnesota looked like in the 1800s. I mean, it just seems like a historical fact to me. And this, oh yeah, that's the Somali flag, by the way. This is the flag of Somalia, all right? So the flag of Somalia, let's go back. And this is the new flag of Minnesota. That's what the flag of Minnesota looks like right now. So Minnesota flag, Somalia flag, Minnesota flag, Somalia flag. Yeah, it looks a little similar to me. Looks like the color is almost on point. And of course, they had to change the star up just a little bit. But yeah, Minnesota, Somalia looks a little bit too similar to me. So, all right. So anyway, fuck Governor Walz. So Rapid Response 47, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, and he gives his quote. He's been, we've been acting on, or been on the ground in Minnesota, conducting criminal investigations, Homeland Security investigations, going door to door, so on and so forth. So let's hear
ICE has been
him
on
out.
the ground in Minnesota for a while now, looking at these fraud claims. And one thing now the Homeland Security Investigation Special Agents are looking into is just that you said, that money trail of where this money is going to foreign aid. Obviously looking at any type of links to any criminal activity. Obviously,
hey, I showed that video on
activity.
yesterday's episode.
And one thing you will see is that ICE is actually out there going with criminal warrants to conduct these investigations. So all too often you hear that ICE is just out there terrorizing the community or conducting administrative work. We've been on the ground in Minnesota conducting criminal investigations, and Homeland Security investigations has gone door to door to a lot of these suspected fraud sites all over St. Paul and Minnesota, and we're learning a lot.
Yeah, good. And keep doing what you're doing. And I think I have another video. Yeah, I've got one right here. More in Minneapolis from Homeland Security. Our investigative agents are conducting a massive operation to identify, arrest, and remove criminals who are defrauding the American people. We will root out this rampant fraud plaguing Minnesota.
Secondly, we're just here because our agency said that you were given a notice of inspection.
and that it was a serious making sure that you're compliant with and verifying that you give the documents.
Yes, I did that.
Yeah, you did that already? That's all great, okay? So that's all we're here for, okay?
All right, cool.
All right, peace, y'all.
All right. So just going around doing their checks, doing their rounds, Homeland Security, and that was a bit difficult to hear. I had the volume cranked up, but volume wasn't that great. From the New York Post, I think I got a few posts from the New York Post. They were red hot when it came to the Somali fraud and Minnesota and all that nonsense going on. So they posted several articles today on the matter. Bad timing for Somali-born daycare owner running for Minnesota legislature. That's very freaking hilarious. So yeah, somebody who's running a daycare center, they're running for legislator in Minnesota. And let's take a look at this real quick. So this is what you call bad timing. A Somali-born daycare owner recently announced he's running for state legislature in Minnesota, where his community and business field have been engulfed in an explosive billion-dollar fraud scandal. Yeah, I'm sure that they're probably already looking into his paper trail. Abdi Daisane, who is not accused in the up to $9 billion web of alleged fraud, at least not accused yet, announced Christmas Eve that he plans to take another shot at the State House in the 2026 midterm elections after he was defeated by the Republican incumbent in 2024. Well, let's hope the Republican keeps that seat. He also suffered a failed city council bid in 2016. Dassane has said he opened his daycare business, Blooming Kids Child Center, in St. Cloud in 2018 because he saw a need for early childhood education. Well, and he probably saw dollar signs and probably saw like a wide open door for help by the federal government. He has made affordable childcare one of the key issues of his campaigns. There's higher needs for childcare in greater Minnesota, so when I saw the need for childcare, I found the opportunity to open one. I jumped on it, told the St. Cloud Times before his 2024 election loss. Look, if you really want to get to the bottom of why childcare is so damn expensive, look no further than the insurance companies. It's because insurance companies are requiring daycare centers to pay an absolutely obscene amount of money per child that they have at their daycare center. He also has been found in violation of many state requirements involving the business, according to the Minnesota Department of Human Services. Well. Oh, but he's not under investigation, though. Oh, okay. Since 2021, Blooming Kids Child Center, which has a capacity of 113 children, has been slapped even with offenses that repeated year to year. It was accused of everything from lacking proper kiddie medical information to documentations showing its workers meet the required qualifications, to not enough staff and poorly maintained equipment, although all of the violations have since been addressed, the outlet said. Dassane accepted responsibility, although he said he thinks the state needs to step in to help with child care centers with staffing shortages, which are largely a result of low pay and lack of benefits. Well, dude, pay your fucking workers more. That's easy. Pay them more. Pay them a fair wage. And if you don't have enough in your facility, well, put out more or put out job listings. Duh. We have difficulties in recruiting folks to work at the daycare for obvious reasons. And what would that be? Dassane's campaign did not respond for a comment. Okay, well, what are the reasons? He says obvious reasons. I mean, what, low pay? Well, it's easy. Pay more. Dozens of members of Minnesota's Somali community have been accused in the bilking of hundreds of millions of dollars in government aid. Okay, well, we already got all that. So anyway, I'll have this linked. And we've got another one from the New York Post. Shocking unearthed footage shows parents pretending to drop kids off at a Minnesota daycare center. Yeah, I kind of saw this one coming. I'm sure many of us did. Shocking unearthed footage. They might even be pretend parents. Those might not even be their kids. Shocking unearthed video from a 2018 state fraud case shows Minnesota parents dropping their children off at a daycare center and then leaving with the kids just moments later, as authorities probe a rampant billion-dollar fraud scheme in Minneapolis. Well, how many children are still missing that crossed the border during the Biden administration? Is it still like 300,000 children or 400,000 children that are still missing? So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me in the least if all of these kids that are showing up with these adults, not even their kids. In the surveillance footage dated 2015 and obtained by Fox 9, parents are seen signing their kids into the facility so providers could bill the state for full days of care for children who didn't actually attend. So this isn't new, man. This is 10 years old. They've been pulling this bullshit for over a decade. On some days, no families would even show up at all. but the daycares would still claim reimbursements from the government, the outlet reported at the time. I mean, that sounds like some like shady doctor's offices where their patients, they would schedule a visit with the doctor and then they would cancel their visit, but the doctor would still bill the insurance company anyway. I mean, that's been an ongoing problem for a long time, as well as medical services that they go for. They just go for a checkup, but the doctor, like they said that they got an x-ray or an MRI, so they're billing for all this shit when they didn't even have all that done. Anyway, the alleged phony daycare centers also gave kickbacks to parents involved. See, this is what happens when taxpayers are forced to allocate billions of their dollars to these programs that have little to what seems like no oversight at all. They just send hundreds of millions of dollars out to these centers, whether if it's medical or daycare or what have you, and it's always rife with fraud. It's always rife with fraud and corruption and all kinds of shit. Another video obtained by Fox 9 shows a man handing an envelope to a parent with an alleged kickback payment for participating in the scheme. So this just makes the perfect case that all of these welfare programs, entitlement programs, just shut them all down. Yeah, let's just get back to basics. Get back to the way things really should be in the first place. You know, try, and I'm sure it would be a painful process, but we just got to get back to the point where we're back to a single income earner household. That's really going to solve a whole lot of these problems, especially on the daycare front. The clips, which were recorded in 2015 but only came to light in 2018, resurfaced amid outrage sparked by viral video from independent journalist Nick Shirley, who is on fire on social media, especially over the last several days. That showed multiple child care centers in Minnesota that had received millions in state funding despite appearing inactive. U.S. Education Secretary Linda McMahon called the alleged fraud a breathtaking failure. All right, so we'll roll on down. Was that all I had? I just had the two? I'm pretty sure there's a third New York Post article down here somewhere. All right, so moving on to Colin Rugg. New Minnesota Department of Children Commissioner Tiki Brown claims the Quality Leering, not Learning, Leering Center, because that's how they spelled it on the sign, closed down last week, which explains why there were no children when Nick Shirley visited. Okay, well, that's fine and all, but Nick Shirley didn't just visit the Quality Leering Center. Nick Shirley visited, I believe, 50 different daycare centers, none of whom had kids there. It wasn't just one, lady. It was dozens of them that did not have any children there. So nice try. The New York Post reports that the children were trucked in, with one local saying, oh, wait, hold on, I skipped this part. So today, however, the Quality Leering Center was packed with kids. The New York Post reports the children were trucked in, with one local saying it was the first time they had seen kids go into the building. They need to coordinate next time before they try to cover up a crime. Yep, like I said, nice try. Here's a video.
Is there fraud going on here? No, it's a video. I just want to know. What's your response? Huh? Get the out of here. What's your response?
How about go fuck yourself? We're in public, asshole.
Is there fraud going on here, and is there children? That's all.
We are aware of a video that's being circulated that has gained local and national attention about child care centers in Minnesota. While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video,
I already smell shit coming from your breath, lady.
The video raises about fraud very seriously. Each of the facilities
very seriously.
In the video
Woo, that
has
stinks.
been visited at least once in the last 6 months as part of our typical licensing process. And in fact, our staff are out in the community today to visit each of these sites again so that we can look into the concerns that were raised in the video. So I won't go into any detail about whether or not any of these
you can't.
Have any open investigations.
Because you can't.
I will share
there aren't
that
any.
Our team was notified that Quality Learning
what team?
Center
you don't have a team.
over a week ago.
I'm sure you're paying for a team.
And
the taxpayers
I
are.
believe the details that were given at that time were around space concerns. And that's what was shared. The previous one I mentioned that had been closed.
Oh, watch. She's not even going to mention the name because she doesn't want to say Leering Center because then she'll sound retarded because the whole thing is retarded because they couldn't even spell learning correctly. The Learning Center couldn't spell the word learning correctly. Oh, well, they were shut down last week. Why? Why were they shut down last week? Well, because, like Christmas. People don't even fucking celebrate Christmas.
Some time ago was Mako.
At least I'm pretty sure they don't. Pretty sure they don't celebrate Christmas in Somalia. The Muslims don't celebrate Christmas, do they? Maybe I'm wrong. So that's the sign, Quality Leering Center for kids who can't read good. All right, well, that's a meme. But anyway, yeah, they just added that on the bottom. At least I'm pretty sure they did. All right, so let's go ahead and roll on to the next post from April sparks crazed Somali cam. Nick Shirley was forced out of a Somali-owned business center in Minnesota while attempting to locate a company called Advanced Mobility. Several Somali men abruptly escorted him out. Toward the end of the clip, one Somali man can be heard angrily repeating, "Why don't you go to a white business?" Why do these clowns, or who do these clowns think they are? All right, let's take a look at this. It's a bit long, but we can get through it.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
You cannot come in here. We don't care. We don't know
You
what it is.
bastard.
That's not your job. You don't know that.
Oh, he said it. I didn't even know he was going to say that. I haven't even seen this yet. You bastard. Why don't you go to the white business? Because they ain't committing crimes over there. Uh-oh.
They're recording.
Move.
I didn't give you permission to record me.
What kind of looking for?
We're in public, dick.
Why you have
Public, dickhead.
No, get out of here. Get out of here.
Look, but this says me equals asshole. That's what this says. It says me equals dick.
This is a lie. I don't care. Who do you work for? Who do you work for? No, who do you work for?
Oh, never mind. Now I sound like the asshole. That's the dude that's with Nick Shirley. My bad.
I don't care about Nick Shirley. That's who he's working for today. Nick
Well, I'm sure it says that on the paper, but he's talking about this guy. This guy equals asshole, not that guy. This guy over here on the left, he equals asshole.
Would you like to give a statement, sir? And see you guys say I can't film. Look at you guys filming. You can do that. You can film here.
You can film here because it's called public property.
You don't care about the state of Minnesota or what?
Where's advanced mobility at? That's all we're asking.
No, dude, they don't care about Minnesota. They care about Somalia. There is more government food getting trucked in, courtesy of your tax money.
White business, why not just white business?
Why? I grew up in Minneapolis. I don't have to go anywhere. Did you grow up here? Did you grow up here? Why do you care?
Why no white business? Because they're on the up and up. At least it would seem.
I grew up here.
There's an Islamic center across the street, if you didn't notice that. All right, so that's that. So situation's ongoing. I'm sure Nick Shirley is not going to be able to conduct a whole lot of investigations in Minneapolis from this day forward because that video that he posted a few days ago went wildly viral. Last time I checked it, it was over 120 million views, and that's just on the X platform. And I'm sure he posted that all over the place. I already know it's on his YouTube because I showed the intro on Sunday. I did a video on Sunday where I played the intro to that video. And of course, I linked it in the description. If I come across it in this video, of course, I'll link that in the description too. So anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to Clown World. The New York Post reports the Quality Leering Center in Minneapolis is now transporting children following Nick Shirley's viral video. Locals say they hadn't seen kids there before today. I believe we already saw this video though, didn't we?
Is there fraud?
Oh,
going on here?
uh-oh.
No,
there it
it's
is,
a
Quality
video.
Leering
I just wanna
Center
know,
for
what's
kids
your
who can't read
response?
good.
Huh?
Get the out of here.
What's your response?
Get motherfuck out of here. All right, Eric Daugherty breaking. Nick Shirley and David are back in Minneapolis at the Quality Leering Center on the ground, and David says he filed a criminal complaint against Tim Walz. Let's go. They're wearing Quality Leering Center shirts. Actually, they're wearing hoodies, which is hilarious. And he goes on to say, David, Tim's gonna have a bad day, and he deserves it. So, so they had these hoodies made, which are absolutely brilliant. And Nick Shirley's already selling them on his website. So I just want to see. Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be here. So this is on Nick Shirley's X account, and he says, we out here leering and stopping fraud out in front of the Quality. Look, oh wait, did they actually cover that up? That's hilarious. That the quote unquote business owners, they covered up the leering part of the Quality Leering Center, and they didn't even cover it up properly. You can still read right through it. Fucking idiots. So they're making these hoodies, Quality Leering Center 1-800-FRAUD, which is also very funny. So with Eric Daugherty, Nick is selling the hoodies here, and I already checked for myself, and he is, in fact, selling the hoodie. It's a bit expensive. I wouldn't pay $50. I think that's a little extreme for hoodies, but I mean, look, I don't know like what's like the background with regard to the funds for the hoodies that he's earning. Maybe 100% of it is going straight to like a charity. I don't know. Probably not. I mean, look, he's absolutely, his story is absolutely sensational right now as far as the view count goes. So, this is America. Might as well capitalize on it. So let me just take a quick look. I think I actually did I drop a comment here? I don't remember if I did. I mentioned that they should make that in a zip hoodie. If they made that in a zip hoodie, I would consider buying one. I don't do pullover hoodies. I live in the state of Florida. I can't do pullover hoodies. It's got to be zip hoodies. Got to be able to take it off easily, not mess up my hair. All right, so let's roll on back to the last post here. Did we get that? Actually, no, we didn't. So let me go ahead and play this.
Filed a formal criminal complaint against Tim Walz for violating Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9.
When did you do that?
3 or 4 weeks ago.
Recently.
Recently,
okay.
Yeah. So there's an investigation ongoing, and I think Tim's going to have a bad day, and he deserves it. Because
absolutely
he allowed this fraud because he wanted the voting block that the Somalis represent, because they all vote in a block, and it's 100,000, 150,000, who knows how many. But it's so bad now that when we go to a facility, they're already screaming, Nick Shirley, Nick Shirley, Nick Shirley.
Unbelievable.
Well, there you go. Well, and also, I'm sure also a pretty substantial reason as to why that they have so many Somali daycare centers is because the government in Minnesota, they want them to keep breeding. They want them to keep having more and more kids because that equals more Democrat votes down the road. Anyway, this is Scott Pressler.
Scott.
Tim also was saying that Minnesota is the #2 state to retire in. I think that we're finding
out
that
Minnesota
is the #1
state
for fraud and the #1 state for...
they even got a picture of somebody putting up the sign like, oh my God, we look stupid. Now you look really stupid because you covered it up with a piece of paper that you can read right through it. Fucking idiot. You could have at least put like 2 sheets or 3 sheets of paper over. Or maybe, I don't know, get a paint roller and a bucket of paint. Maybe that might help. But... anyway, yeah, Scott Pressler, he's got, as an individual, he's got a better ground game than maybe any other individual in the history of politics. That dude is an absolute just beast when it comes to door-to-door, registering voters. I'm pretty sure the big state that he's been involved with, at least over the last couple of years, has been Pennsylvania. I mean, that dude, like, he registered, I don't remember what the number was at last count. It's in the tens of thousands of people that he's registered just by himself. It's absolutely incredible. All right, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey have stoked nonstop riots and attacks against our officers. When you add that to the sanctuary jurisdictions in place, like Hennepin County, who refuses to honor our detainers, it should come as no surprise when we show up to courts with a heavier presence. Yeah, I believe they showed up with like 50 agents. Yeah, here we go. Clint Combs. 50 agents were at Ridgedale Library today to arrest one person. Yeah, well, as long as you held them in jail, then they wouldn't have needed 50. They would have only needed 2. So which one should I go with first? Here, let me go with this one first, because the one above probably responds to this. Doesn't appear to be any sound. No sound. Yep, we got it maxed out. Showed up to the library. Not sure why he was there, because he was probably not reading books. Probably wasn't checking things out. No, the reason there was probably so many agents was probably because he led them on a foot chase. He probably took off running, and it required all of them in the immediate area to capture him. That would be my wild guess. All right, so of course they keep coming down the stairs. I guess if we watched it all the way through its entirety, I'm assuming you would count 50 agents. And we've got this, just 12 seconds.
More importantly, if sanctuary cities would change their policies and turn these violent criminal aliens over to us, into our custody, instead of releasing them into the public, we would not have to go out to the communities and do this.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And they know what they're doing, because when they release them out into the public, then Immigration and Customs Enforcement have to go out and apprehend them in public. And the Democrat politicians, they're crossing their fingers, hoping and praying that they create a scene, which usually they do, because like depending on where they arrest them, there's usually a group of people around. There's always going to be a few in these deep blue Democrat cities that are going to be, just homegrown activists that they have the chance to seize their moment because they see just some innocent, poor, undocumented American migrant getting arrested. So I'm going to bust out my smartphone and get all this on recording. I'm going to live stream this and try to create this big scene and start obstructing ICE and you kind of see how that plays out. That's how it plays out all the time. Or they could just hold that criminal illegal in jail, and there would be no scene. There would be no high-speed police chases, no gunfire, no violence, no nothing. They're in jail. So all they got to do is just pick them up and put them into the vehicle and head them off for deportation. But, of course, the blue states, they want none of that. All right, Kelly Loeffler, rampant fraud and abuse are the inevitable result of socialist welfare programs that prioritize massive handouts instead of oversight. Minnesota is just the beginning. The Trump administration is leading an unprecedented effort to root out criminals wherever they are, hold them accountable, and recoup taxpayer dollars. This is work that the Walz and Biden administrations failed to do, and now we will go state by state. My op-ed for Fox News here. And look, it just makes you wonder if Trump never wanted to run for president, if Trump never happened, or if, like let's say Hillary Clinton were to win and she put in 8 years, and God forbid if another Democrat were to win right after. I mean, look, that would have been Obama, Clinton, and then God knows who after that. None of this would have come out. The border probably would have been wide open for over 10 years at this point. I mean, we'd be looking at a very, very different landscape than what we're looking at today. So it's kind of scary because, assuming that Democrats get back in power in the future, they could just so easily, anything that's not been codified by Congress, they could just undo everything that Trump's done, reopen the floodgates, tear down all the walls, and, basically repeating Biden. That's basically what they did last time, or when Biden was in office. So this comes from Loeffler. Vast network of Somali nonprofits ripped off Minnesota's welfare state. And of course, this is her op-ed, which they posted on foxnews.com. When the news broke of convictions for rampant fraud across several pandemic programs in Minnesota, the billion-dollar price tag and over 90 indictments were staggering. We now know this is a very low estimate of the price Americans have paid to fund deeply corrupt state-administered welfare programs. The criminal nature of the scandal rocked the country. A vast network of Somali nonprofits systematically ripped off federal programs and denied Minnesota families of vital services at the height of the pandemic. And look, these are just Somalis. Now, obviously shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone because Somalia, it's a pirate nation, literally. So, but it just begs the question, what about all the other third world countries that have large amounts of individuals? Afghanistan would be another big one to look at, probably Iraqi as well. I'm sure that there's communities all over the country, not just Somali, that are ripping off American taxpayers. It just seems like Somalis are just the lousiest at doing it. There's just the lowest IQ of those who are conducting these fraud schemes because, they got busted the amount of $9 billion. But at the same time, it has to take more than a complete buffoon or a complete idiot to be able to successfully rip off a state for $9 billion. So, these people, they're not as stupid as they might appear. All right. So anyway, in defrauding programs for nutrition, education, and healthcare, the massive and sophisticated enterprise siphoned billions in taxpayer dollars. Thanks to lax oversight under Democrat Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, organized crime crept in and then brazenly flourished, even when dozens of whistleblowers repeatedly raised concerns to state oversight bodies and to his own office. Walz simply blamed racism and shrugged off the allegations. So this is the Minnesota government workers blame Walz for massive fraud amid allegations against Somali community. This somewhere in here, it should go over the whistleblowers. I thought that would have been the subject of the article, but anyway, that's the link in this article that it goes to. Whistleblowers repeatedly raising concerns. All right. Anyway, the governor recently defended the state's generosity, which allowed Somali fraudsters to purchase luxury cars, homes, and vacations at the expense of hungry Minnesotans. Its welfare state is widely considered a magnet for those seeking to become beneficiaries. Alarmingly, welfare is now the state's single largest annual expenditure, higher than education, even highways, and public safety. Welfare. But new investigations have revealed that fraud runs much deeper than initially suspected, including at the U.S. Small Business Administration. During the pandemic, the agency issued $1.2 trillion in loans, helping save millions of small businesses and jobs. Also a big reason why inflation went up so much. Much of that lending was legitimate, and many of the loans were forgiven, which is, again, inflation, consistent with the 2020 CARES Act legislation. But the program was expanded in 2021 and became rife with fraud, at least $200 billion, most of which went completely unaddressed and largely forgiven under the Biden administration. So $200 billion, most of it, if not all of that $200 billion was fraudulent. And the Biden administration just clean their hands out of it, or just wash their hands. It's good. It's whatever. It's already out in the world. We're not getting it back. Fuck it. All right. So at my direction, SBA launched an investigation into Minnesota fraudsters. It took just days to find about $3 million in Paycheck Protection Program loans and COVID-19 economic injury disaster loans for numerous indicted nonprofits, including groups like Feeding Our Future and Action for East African People. With this disproportionate level of possible fraud and ongoing allegations arising across other federal programs, we broadened our scope to investigate every COVID-19 loan granted in Minnesota. In a matter of weeks, we uncovered a staggering 13,600 PPP loans that were flagged for fraud but later approved, totaling $430 million in potentially fraudulent funds that should have been used to save Main Street jobs and businesses. In many cases, those loans were forgiven entirely. Well, that doesn't mean that they can't be criminally charged. They absolutely should go after them and get our money back. On December 23rd, I informed the governor that the SBA has halted about $5.5 million in annual funding to Minnesota pending further review in an effort to prevent taxpayer dollars in a state that clearly lacks appropriate controls to responsibly steward federal funds. And we are actively working with our law enforcement partners to hold criminals accountable for the possible pandemic-era fraud now under investigation. So it goes on from there. It's not too much lengthier than that. It looks like over 80 federal welfare programs that spend $1 trillion every year. There's much work to do. Yeah, I'd say there's much work to do. $1 trillion a year. Absolutely brutally, just beyond belief. All right, so we got this from Eric Doherty. Update, Somali man warns MAGA. If you're kicking out Somalis, you have to kick out everyone else. All the Africans. You have to kick all of us out together. Every third world migrant must go back. All right.
If you're kicking out Somalis, you have to kick out everyone else. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm speaking for
all right, that's fine. We'll take them too.
If you kick Somalis out, you have to kick all of them out. All of us, we all leave together. Because if you kick us out, you have to kick everyone else. I'm gonna be honest, and I know everyone in the comments, everyone watching this video agrees with me.
Oh yeah, all right, I agree with you. That's fine. But let's start with all of those who are on welfare currently. Gone. Get rid of them. They're a net detriment, not a benefit to American culture. They're not helping in any way, shape, or form. They're consuming, not producing. Get rid of them first. The ones who are hardworking, who are producing, who are paying taxes, gainfully employed, doing fairly well, let's have a discussion about those people. Maybe they should stick around. I wouldn't be exactly the most opposed to that. But the ones who are just sucking taxpayer money out of the system, nope, get rid of them. Anyway, so I think this is the New York Post one I was looking for earlier. Ilhan Omar faces investigation after outrage over massive wealth gains and aid fraud in Minnesota. And we'll take a look at this. Ilhan Omar faces investigation after outrage over massive wealth gains and fraud in Minnesota. A conservative watchdog is scrutinizing Rep. Ilhan Omar's finances as outrage mounts over the massive fraud scandal engulfing her home state of Minnesota and questions about her rapid wealth gains. Peter Flaherty, who chairs the National Legal and Policy Center, NLPC, told the Post that his team is certainly looking at Omar. The revelation comes days after the Post reported that her husband's venture capital firm quietly scrubbed key officer details online amid questions about her sudden surge in wealth. They're scrubbing stuff from his website. I wonder why that is. I mean, I would assume that the Wayback Machine probably took snapshots if it's on at least on the front page of the website. Within about a year, Omar's net worth mysteriously shot up to $30 million, a roughly 3,500% increase relative to just 2023. In just 2 years. 2 years, her net worth went up 3,500%, according to her financial disclosures. It's not fake news. It was submitted by her. She's the one that reported that it went up 3,500%. The gains largely came from her husband, Tim Mynette's businesses, including a California winery. Well, where did he get the money for that? And his venture capital management firm, Rose Lake Capital, headquartered in Washington, D.C. Well, if she never became a member of Congress, would he still have started this Rose Lake Capital in Washington, D.C.? Because he's probably not from Washington, D.C. But maybe it is. Maybe he is. I don't know. What do I know? Rose Lake Capital's value jumped from nearly zero in 2023. It had a net worth of zero in 2023. And then in just 2 short years, it ballooned up to between $5 and $25 million. Oh, in just 1 year. Between $5 and $25 million in just a single year, which the Post already reported previously. Additionally, the firm bragged about its officers managing some $60 billion in previous assets. Recently, the names and bios of Rose Lake Capital's 9 officers were removed from LinkedIn, raising questions about why. Minette's winery business, which faced fraud allegations previously, also saw its estimated value explode between $1 and $5 million in just 2024 alone, according to Omar's financial disclosures. Further fueling the recent questions about Omar's personal finances is the massive Feeding Our Future fraud scandal plaguing her home state, which hundreds of millions of dollars were fleeced from taxpayers. Omar's publicly faulted the rush to push out social benefits during COVID-19 pandemic and the lack of guardrails for the scandal. I just think that a lot of the COVID programs were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created, she told CNN. Conservative critics have demanded a more thorough investigation into both Omar and Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's handling of the fraud scandal. On Walz's watch, Minnesota became a fraud factory, aided and defended by allies like Ilhan Omar. Investigate everything, Rep. Brian Bappin on X, who's a Republican from Texas, and he went on to say, prosecute everyone involved. Yeah, I think most of us would agree. Immediately. All right, so this is from Britt Hume. Quote, when she first took office in 2019, the left-wing squad member declared a net worth between negative $25,000 and negative $65,000, claimed to own no assets, and be only carrying student debt and car debt. Now, Ilhan Omar's assets have suddenly skyrocketed to between $6 and $30 million, according to her latest financial disclosure. Just months after the Congresswoman dismissed claims that she was a millionaire as ridiculous and categorically false. And is this the same? Oh, no, there's a different article, but I'll just link this article. Ilhan Omar's hubby, $30 million firm, quietly scrubs names from the website as squad member faces mounting questions on sudden wealth and mid-Minnesota welfare fraud. That sounds like the same article. Maybe it's not, but, whatever. I'll link it. All right, and then we'll roll on to the next topic. Let me go back. Defiant L's, Ilhan Omar, our country should be more fearful of white men. Let's take a look at this nonsense.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
Radicalization of white men. Yeah, what about transgender mass shooters? Should we be looking at them too? Oh, no, we can't talk about that. All right, Farouk. Rep. Ilhan Omar, Trump says there is no head of Somalia, and then says she spoke to the head of Somalia to see if he'll take me back. Fucking idiot. Why would he take me back? I'm not a stateless person. I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm a member of Congress. Yeah, for now. All right, let's take a look at this.
About you being, quote, taken back to Somalia. and I know, look, that is go back to Africa, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of
oh my God, so racist.
Of course I've heard that.
Because she's not from Africa.
That moment?
She's from Somalia.
Where he said that? He said, I spoke to the head of Somalia.
Yes. Well, it's kind of the irony of him saying he spoke to the head of Somalia when he continuously said Somalia does not have a leader. It's kind of actually hilarious. And then if anybody knows the head of Somalia, they know that, what the president says cannot be true.
Well, he says, I spoke to the head of Somalia, and the head of Somalia said, ask her to take her back, and he said, I don't want her. Do you laugh at that? So.
Yes.
Why?
Because I know the president of Somalia, and he wouldn't say anything like that. But also, I mean, why in the world would he take me back? I'm not like some stateless person. I'm a citizen of the United States. Right. I'm a member of Congress. Right. So it would actually be really disrespectful for the president of Somalia to be like, yeah, sure, we'll take Ilhan back.
I think it's hilarious that Don Lemonhead, he's been reduced to a streetwalker with the cellular microphone. Okay. All right, this comes from America. Democrat Rep. Ilhan Omar. I'm a Somali girl, a girl with your language, your religion. That was the young child taken from her country that misses her country and wishes to live there. Well, then go live there, dummy.
In jidadkeennii aan wada dhisano
Whatever, dude. I'm not going to listen to that shit. I don't understand it, so what's the point? And you probably don't understand it either. I mean, if they had subtitles, that'd be a whole different thing. But you know what? I'll repost it if you want to look at that yourself from Libs of TikTok. And there's a direct link to my profile in the description below. Andy No from 4 hours ago. Wow. Choi Cho, or Jonathan Cho, Discovery Institute Senior Journalism Fellow. And also Cam Higbee, news and commentary, on the ground reporting. They visited a Somali daycare in Seattle that received hundreds of thousands in taxpayer funds. The person who answered the bell said there was no daycare there in the past or in the present.
My decoy went up, and she could hear people rustling around on the other side of the ring camera as if they were listening to her but not responding.
Kristen Magnuson and I also went to this house right after you guys to see if we get the same response, and we sort of did. We saw the same thing. You know, the windows with vinyl covering, can't see inside.
Yeah, looks like a regular ass
ring
house.
The doorbell, but actually somebody responds to us.
Hey, is this the Gosh Family Childcare?
No.
It's not the Gosh Family Childcare?
No.
Okay, what's the name of the childcare here?
I don't know.
Uh-oh. That's a good question.
The woman says no. But obviously, Washington state records tell a completely different
More fraud.
story.
Yeah, this specific
This time in
address is
Washington.
locked into Washington state records as a daycare.
Well.
It's locked into like the Google paid for the business.
Yep.
Is this address?
And it's up to date with licensing.
The numbers here.
Wow.
We just visited
Licensed.
the Gosh Family Childcare. This address was confirmed online. They get $23,260 in October.
In 1 month.
$210,000.
Wow.
Just this year.
And how many kids again is this place registered for?
Oh, that's the fun part. 3.
3?
So this
What the
place
fuck?
are licensed for 9 children.
Okay,
But
this place is licensed for 9.
But they have 6 slots available.
Freaking
Which means
yikes,
they
dude.
only have 3 kids, and they've raked in $210,000 in tax money.
And neighbors say when we ask them, have you ever seen kids come out of this place?
Not a single one.
Not a single
asked
one.
them. So this woman comes up. The people who live there actually texted her as a neighbor and asked her to confront us because they thought we were ICE. So the next question is, are they illegal immigrants? Why are they so concerned about ICE?
Jeez, that's another rabbit trail.
A total another rabbit hole. But what she said is, I have seen no evidence that there is a daycare there. She actually said, my husband and I were wondering how those people afford that house because she said the rent was $3,500 a month.
And this is probably another reason why daycare has skyrocketed in cost, because of the insane amount of federal funding that so many of these daycares are getting, to the point where they could basically just charge whatever they want, because a lot of these people who are taking their kids to daycare, they're probably being subsidized by the government.
I've seen kids over there.
Okay, interesting.
Same with insurance.
I've seen one child over there, like when they have like family things.
Right, yeah.
But no, I have not seen any evidence of daycare activity there.
On 9/11, 2025, they came in and they inspected. They found multiple long-term, short-term, serious, and immediate risks to children. That's in September.
All public
In September,
record.
they were awarded $22,000.
So I reached
Wow.
out to the Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families, right? Again, this is the agency that essentially licenses, does oversight.
Probably won't
does
see a
the
whole lot of this in
inspections.
red states.
I have yet
Just
to
a
hear
wild
back.
guess.
That's now in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
What is the state of Washington's accountability practices now? If there are violations, how much time do we
Nothing.
have to correct course?
Don't
Does
call us
funding
back.
get stopped. These are questions
Leave
that
us
still
alone.
need to be answered. What I want to emphasize, though, especially in our reporting, is that we're not alleging
Overgrown grass.
that every single
So I know
one of
kids
these
have been back there
Somali-run
for months.
daycares are engaged in fraudulent activity.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we went to some today that seemed totally legitimate.
Right, and the vast majority may be legit, but the ones that we've
But some are not.
investigated and the list that we still have that needs to be investigated, there are concerning signs. We can't do this alone. There are dozens of places we need to hit up. We've just scratched the surface here in Washington State. A lot of these potential problematic Somali daycares are in South King County. So
Now, this is something that the Trump administration ought to be funding, is funding more investigate. Well, look, I don't know. I got a beef with the government funding journalism and funding mainstream news or any kind of news, because the news is supposed to be checking the government, and holding the government accountable. It's kind of hard to do that when the government's signing your paychecks. However, they've got to form some sort of an organization to really start cracking down on this. And I bet they could find a lot of people who would volunteer who might have the skills to do just that.
Frankly, Cam, we can't do this alone. This is a call out now to the community, other citizen journalists,
Absolutely.
other volunteer sleuths who want to start following up.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you
really,
go.
all you need is courage, some curiosity, and an iPhone to document what's happening at these places.
Yeah, and you know, don't show up and be mean and harass people, but there's
No,
nothing
because you
wrong
won't get
with
anything out of
knocking
them if
on
you
a
do
door
that.
asking a question.
You got to be nice. You have to be gentle. You have to pretend to be a parent. It'd probably help if you are a parent, because that way the conversation would flow more freely. All right. Anyway, we'll just head on to the next thing. Gunther Eagleman. And, oh yeah, by the way, like they definitely at least should be calling Pam Bondi or the DOJ, the IRS, FBI, just call in the whole cavalry and get that going in Washington. I'm sure that they've already been made aware of it. Gunther Eagleman, breaking the second largest Somali community in America, is having their come to God moment now that ICE has surged into Columbus, Ohio. This is huge and sends the message to these third worlders that their corruption and fraud are not welcome in our country. Get them all out. Of course, we got the leftist progressive whistle.
I'm backing up. I'm backing up.
Fucking idiots.
I am backing up.
Yeah, they handled whistles out to everybody. All the progressive leftists that walk around in public, they all have the R-word whistles that they use for ICE now.
Whoa.
Yeah, blow your stupid whistle and run away. Off you go. All right. Yeah, he was obviously scared to obstruct them because he didn't have a mob of other people with him. He was out there by himself. All right, so JD Vance from 7 hours ago. Chris Murphy wants to save money by keeping illegal aliens in America. I don't even know how to make fun of this. And this is from Chris Murphy, Democrat. Let's see where he's from. Which district? From Connecticut. Doesn't say which district, but he's from Connecticut. You work so hard for your money, and they are just lighting your taxpayer dollars on fire. And he's responding to the 50 agents, which we already saw at the Ridgedale Library today to arrest one person. Look, they wouldn't have to, quote unquote, light the taxpayer dollars on fire if the Biden administration and all these Democrats, Chris Murphy included, I'm sure, wouldn't have opened up the effing floodgates over the Biden administration's term and allowed tens of millions of illegals to pour in here. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that already had criminal records and were not even vetted. They just let them right in. And in many cases from the third world around the whole planet, they flew them in under the cover of darkness into our international airports all over the country. They did that during the entirety of the Biden administration. All right, from Aaron Bean 13 hours ago, President Trump and House GOP promised to give our law enforcement the tools they need to do their job, and we delivered. Thanks to the provisions within the Working Families Tax Cut, which is another way of saying the one big beautiful bill, 605,000 plus illegal immigrants have been deported. This is from Republican Study Committee. America is secure again. President Trump delivered the largest mass deportation campaign in our nation's history and officially secured the southern border. The Republican-led Working Families tax cuts included $170 billion in additional border security funding, giving agents the resources and tools they need to continue enforcing the law and protecting our communities. That's a lot of money. And I'm sure that's not per year. That's probably over 5 years, maybe 10 years, something like that. But I know that over 200,000 people have applied to be ICE agents. I say, all the ones who are capable, all the ones who go through the vetting process and they're physically fit, hire every last one of them, because we need every last one of them. Deportations under the Trump administration, 605,000 migrants deported and 1.9 million have voluntarily self-deported. I'd be curious to know what the number is going to be for, I would say, the last week, maybe the last week and a half, when the Trump administration announced, I think it was actually Homeland Security, they announced that they were upping the $1,000 voucher for those who self-deport. They increased it to $3,000. So anybody from, again, the exact day escapes me. It was like December 18th or December 16th or something like that, all the way up through the end of the year, all the way up until January 1st. If you self-deport in that time frame, they tripled the amount of money that they gave you in the form of a cash voucher for self-deporting. So I'd be curious to know how many people took them up on that offer. I bet it was probably a lot. All right. Moving to Stephen Miller. President Trump suspended all refugee resettlement his first day in office and stopped all federal funding to refugee resettling NGOs. That is obviously very good news. And that's good that he repeated that because I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know that. All right. Department of State, mass migration, and the criminal networks that enable it wrought havoc on America before President Trump secured the border. The State Department has now instructed U.S. embassies in countries in the Western Hemisphere to report on human rights abuses caused by mass migration. And from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, $14 million in gift card fraud has been uncovered. 3 Latvian nationals sought to defraud Americans of millions through an extensive gift card scheme. ICE has issued immigration detainers for all 3, ensuring the removal of criminals who enter the U.S. for illicit activity and safeguarding our communities from financial crime.
Estimated $14 million worth of fraud was committed by these 3 suspects. Christians Petrovskis, Romuns Tisobrits, Normuns Olavikas were arrested for shoplifting and cloning gift cards in Texas.
These people were all here illegally, and they were all here specifically.
What a bunch of idiots! Don't you have to validate the card at the register? I mean, if you go into a store and you just swipe a whole bunch of those gift cards off the rack, I'm pretty sure they don't work. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that you have to actually get them scanned at the register for them to work.
The men are foreign nationals from Latvia, a country in Europe. The group told investigators that they typically steal gift cards from 10 stores a day, 7 days a week, and have been actively doing so since May.
They're stealing gift cards off the shelves from various big box stores. These cards have no value when they steal them.
The thieves will then take the items to another location and carefully remove the packaging almost surgically.
The card is removed, and then the material on the back that covers up the numbers to transfer anything or activate the card is then removed so that they can see it. The numbers that are on the card are then programmed into another program that the criminals are using, which will now monitor that card.
From there, the cards are reassembled to appear as new without scratches and placed back onto store shelves.
Okay, wow, man, that's actually next level. That's high IQ shit. So they steal the cards knowing that they're not going to have any value when they steal them. They just want the numbers so they can reprogram the card and then copy that card onto a new card that doesn't have the numbers filed off, and they put that card back on the shelf
for someone to buy.
That's freaking clever.
As soon as it is activated and money placed onto that card, the criminals are now aware of it, but they now have the ability to transfer the money off of that card and onto another card where it is then cashed out or used to buy high-end merchandise.
So in other words,
we're told
get your
more
loved
than
ones
400
legit presents. Don't give them
were
gift
in their
cards.
possession when they got arrested. We know they shoplifted from stores in cities including Austin, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, and San Antonio.
Well, you can buy gift cards online though too, right?
Just
go directly to the website.
The only way once you purchase it is to actually check to see what the balance is on that card, but unfortunately most people are going to give it as a gift and they don't want to scratch it off to see what's on there. Beyond that, there really isn't that much you can do other than to be vigilant.
Yeah, well, sounds like I'm not buying gift cards in the store anymore because this is happening now, and I'm sure those 3 people are not the only ones doing it. It's probably happening all over the place. They just happen to be among the first to have gotten caught. All right, John Kennedy, Republicans were elected to do something. We've been bold on immigration and crime. We've been bold in standing up for our enemies abroad. We've got to be bold on the cost of living, too.
We were elected to do something. And right now, the American people want us to do something.
Well, if you nuke the filibuster, that would certainly help.
Living,
but you don't want to do
things. That. I mean, we were very bold in our actions on immigration. It worked. It worked.
Uh-huh.
We've been very bold in our actions on crime.
Well, it's working.
It's worked. Crime is down.
Yeah, but there's still how many? 20, 25, 30 million illegal immigrants that are still in the country. Only 2.5 have been removed. I mean, that's still like 90-something% that are still here.
We've been very bold in terms of standing up to China.
Or 80% or whatever.
And to Putin and to Iran. The president was very bold when he told Iran, you can't have a nuclear weapon. They said, watch us. The president said, watch me. You know, he knocked them into a new zip code. He should have done that. But we've got to be bold on the cost of living, and in my opinion.
Okay, well, I'm all ears. Let's hear what your ideas are. You got to drastically downsize the federal government for starters. All right, so this is from Gunther Eagleman. Breaking the foreigners in Columbus are trying to buck up to ICE agents by telling them what to do and how to do it. The agents didn't let this FCK slide and immediately apprehended him. Either cooperate or they will force cooperation. It's just that simple.
See your name, and I give you my license and all my paperwork. Excuse me. No, I need to see your name.
This dude's got some attitude.
Yeah, show me again. I need to see your name, please.
I'm going to ask you again.
Yeah,
sir,
I need to see your name.
Your identification.
Yeah, I need to see your name.
I just did. You have another agent there. All
Hey,
right? Let me see your driver's license.
Is he an illegal and a sovereign citizen?
Good morning. Yes, I need to see your name. Only your name. I don't need to. I need to see. Yeah, your name. Yeah, your name. Turn around. I need to see your name. I need to see your name. I need to see your name.
Do you know I'm an officer?
Yeah, I need to see your name.
You know I'm a federal agent.
I don't know.
I'm asking you for your driver's license. I identified myself to you, sir.
Yeah, I don't see your name.
What's
your name?
You have my badge. Once I identify you, I will have your driver's license. Step out of the vehicle.
Right now. Out of the car. Let's go. Come on, get out. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
Yank the keys out.
Come on. Okay. Okay. Broken. Come on. Do it. Do it. Stop. Do it. Come on.
All right. Well, he's asking him to do it. FAFO, buddy. ICE of TikTok immigration operations continued in Chicago. And we've got this video out of Chirac. Belmont and Laverne, which was yesterday. All right, well, not a whole lot of action there. Oh, all right, so moving on to the next thing. Commander Op at Large, Gregory Bovino. I remembered his name this time. If you think we're done with Chicago, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Don't call it a comeback. We're going to be here for years.
Come on, man.
They're sending the U.S. Border Patrol in Chicago to take care of business.
Got him. Stupid R whistle. No loser.
Operating in your town. The taxpayer's town, not your town. And that's what's going to happen.
I regret to hear that. I will say it once more. You are not welcome here.
Well, and you can fuck right off. Welcome to America, bitch. Which he knows, because I'm sure that's probably a freaking representative. Wouldn't surprise me at all. You're not welcome here. We don't want you to take away our future Democrat voters, our useful idiots. All right, Rep. Tom Cole, as a lifelong Oklahoman, I know firsthand just how important quality rural healthcare access is in our state. Therefore, I'm so proud and excited to see this investment into the future of rural America, with a historic $223.5 million going to Oklahoma. Thank you, President Trump. And this is from Dr. Oz at CMS, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. Today, CMS announced that all 50 states will receive awards under the Rural Health Transformation Program, a $50 billion initiative established under the Working Families Tax Cut legislation to strengthen and modernize healthcare in rural communities across the country. This unprecedented federal investment will help states expand healthcare access, support the communities that keep our nation running, and create lasting improvements for rural families. And he's got an article at go.cms.gov. CMS announces $50 billion in awards to strengthen rural health in all 50 states, and that will be linked below. And I've got a few other posts related to this. Different states. So California, Vince Fong announcing that California will receive $233.6 million to support rural health care. and he's got a little more information on that. And another one from Ben Klein, Congressman, $189,544,888 for Virginia, and $233 million for Montana. That's from Rep. Ryan Zinke, and Governor Greg Gianforte, not sure how to pronounce his name, but the Montana governor, and then Rep. Jason Smith, and that's $216 million for Missouri. And so there's members of Congress from all 50 states that are posting this. I just grabbed just a handful of them just to show that that they're dispersing the funds to all 50 states under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or the family, what do they call it? The tax working families tax, whatever. Anyway, so going to move on to the next thing. Senator Dick Durbin. Across America, families are demanding we do something to address their skyrocketing health insurance premiums. My Republican colleagues must start listening to these families and work with Democrats to extend the ACA enhanced premium tax credits. Dude, it's rife with fraud. Ain't gonna happen.
We had a meeting earlier this week, a few days ago, a bipartisan meeting of senators. There were
Say it, Dick Durbin. Say Obamacare.
We're trying to find a way to stop this dramatic increase.
That's what fucked up our health insurance industry
across America. So I know the political sentiment goes beyond the four who actually voted with us to bring these premiums down. We have others who are trying to find a way to do it.
Not happening.
The Senate, the four in the House, the four Republicans who stepped up and are calling for the discharge of this petition. I think indication there may be even more. Let's boil it down to the bottom line.
I mean, look, even she doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about.
Families are scared to death that their premiums are going to double and triple because of the failure of Congress to act.
Like what?
We have
It's
no
going
excuse.
down.
We need to do it as soon as possible when we return in January.
No, the truth is if they extend the Obamacare subsidies, the costs are not going to go down. They're only going to go up. There hasn't been a single year since Obamacare was passed where premiums went down. Not a single year. And it went fully into effect when in 2014, I think. And they passed it like 2009, something like that. And it hasn't gone down at all. It's only gone up and up and up. So as usual, full of shit. HHS Year 1 MAHA. 18 state SNAP waivers for junk food have been approved. So I believe that's referencing 18 states that are cutting junk food out of the SNAP benefits program. 37 states have implemented legislation advancing the MAHA agenda. 18 SNAP waivers have been signed, and 40% of the food industry has pledged to remove synthetic food dyes. That is awesome. Year 1 of MAHA, building a healthier, stronger America. Under the leadership of Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., HHS is taking bold, decisive action to reform America's food, health, and scientific systems to identify the root causes of the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. And this is on hhs.gov. Plenty of resources, plenty of reading and browsing material. If you want to take a look at that, that'll be down below. And we'll roll on to the next thing, which is going to be Secretary Sean Duffy, CSX train derailment in Kentucky. Here's what we know from CSX. 31 train cars were involved near the Kentucky-Tennessee border. One train car leaked molten sulfur into the air, but no injuries were reported, so that's a good thing at least. U.S. DOT, Department of Transportation, or the FRA. Let's see what the FRA is. The Federal Railroad Administration, and also PHMSA DOT, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. Investigators are on the way to the scene. This is from Fox Nashville 9 hours ago. Breaking: no injuries in fiery Kentucky train derailment. Shelter in place has now been lifted. And they have a link to their article. Not sure if they have. Oh, yeah, they actually do have a video. Let's check this out.
It's also on site.
It's long. I'm not going to play the whole thing.
And we're
I'll just play a couple of minutes of it.
That this incident happened approximately a mile west of here from downtown Trenton. Trenton's a small community, but had the event happened right here, it could have been catastrophic. So there, as far as I know, no injuries to report. Just mainly some damage to some land. And Ash will talk more about that. But I just want to say thank you for all the cooperation amongst all the departments in Ty County and from outside of Ty County. We really appreciate it. This time I'm going to turn it over to Ash Rose. He's Emergency Management Director. He's going to give you a lot more detail as to what's happening.
Judge,
So let's give it a minute or so.
Again, thank you, Judge. I'm Ash Groves. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for Todd County. As the Judge mentioned, we had an incident this morning, a train derailment about a mile west of our location here. CSX train had about 31 cars derail, one of which was loaded with molten sulfur, and that's what was giving off the smoke cloud. CSX, very appreciative of them getting here as quickly as they did. They had a hazmat team on site. They have since extinguished that, or at least stopped that leak. We had a shelter-in-place order in effect this morning. We're going to lift that now. There is no threat from the incident from the site. So again, the shelter-in-place order has been lifted. You can turn your heaters back on and your air conditioners on, whatever it may be. But again, just want to thank the Todd County Sheriff's Department being here so quickly, getting the roads closed. Again, it's right parallel to 41 North. That's a very heavily, especially that time of morning, very heavily traveled road.
That's good.
Injuries,
Nobody was hurt then.
We're very, very fortunate, very thankful for that.
I mean, there was no explosion, so that's a good thing. Just a leak, molten sulfur.
Their heater and things of that nature. Did y'all test the air quality to determine that it's safe to do so?
Yes, we did. So CSX again had 2 hazmat teams on site, one from Christian County and one from CSX itself. They did air sampling at the site, at the car, and then away from the car, and all those came back good.
And as it pertains to the investigation to determining...
All right, well, that's good. It's good it's under control, and it doesn't look like they're going to show any aerial footage or anything, although we did get some images here. I'll just take a quick look at this. Will it size up any? No, not really. Let's see. Just the teams, restart gallery. So, yeah, that's what it's looking like. I mean, it looks like the tracks took a sharp... it looks like that the derailment actually shifted the tracks themselves. You see how it just takes that sharp left-hand turn there? That's crazy. All right. So we'll head on to the next topic here. U.S. mission to the UN in Vienna. Proud of what we accomplished in 2025 on behalf of the United States to keep America safer, stronger, and more prosperous. In 2026, we look forward to continuing our work promoting nuclear energy, non-proliferation, outer space, and combating illicit drugs and crime. Happy New Year. All right, well, photo gallery. I mean, we get the idea. I'll repost it if you really want to look at the rest of that. We'll just roll on to the next thing. New Hampshire Homeland Security and Emergency Management. If you are one of the thousands of granite staters without power, keep your home warmer by opening your window coverings during sunlight hours and closing them at night, closing off unused rooms and putting towels under doors. And just a few tips in case you lose power in the middle of a snowstorm. Close off unused rooms, stuff towels in the cracks under doors, cover the windows at night, stuff like that. So always good to know. NNSA, ending the year with a bang. The Joint Actinide Shock Physics Experimental Research Facility surpassed 200 shots run by Livermore Lab and NNSA Nevada. JASPER advances our understanding of plutonium under pressure. And they link an article if you're curious to learn more about that. Putting plutonium under pressure sounds, for lack of a better word, psychotic to me, but I'm sure that there's very good reason for why they're doing it. Maybe that's just another step in their ability to revolutionize the nuclear industry. At least let's hope so. All right, U.S. Department of Energy. President Trump is transforming American energy, unleashed the golden age of energy dominance, ended the war on beautiful clean coal, unleashed the American nuclear renaissance, and prevented Biden blackouts and energy subtraction. Let's go. And from FEMA, today we awarded $250 million through the new Counter Unmanned Aircraft Systems Grant Program to aggressively combat the unlawful use of drones that endanger the safety, security, and lives of the American people. Looks like they got a couple more posts. So let me just grab this so that could be linked. And okay, so that's not a video, but they continue by saying this is the fastest ever non-disaster grant award that FEMA has ever executed. funding just 25 days after the application period closed. This funding is available thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill signed in July of 2025. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noam, the Trump administration and White House task force are focused on ensuring that not only are FIFA World Cup 2026 venues secure during the tournament, but that stronger, longer-term protections are established against drone threats. So there you go, man. That is a lot of money put toward combating unauthorized drone use. That's crazy, man. It's a lot of money. Department of State, President Trump is the only president to secure a NATO-wide commitment from allies to spend 5% of their GDP on defense by 2035. This commitment adds an extra $1 trillion a year in deterrence and defense investment. When America leads, allies step up. And what was the number before? Was it, I think it might have been 2%, 2, maybe 3% of GDP. Every NATO country is required per their agreement to fund a small percentage of their entire GDP toward NATO defense, and a handful of those countries weren't contributing in anything. So at least they're stepping up to the plate now, or at least they pledged to. I mean, whether or not if they actually honor this 5% of GDP spending by 2035, I think it all just depends on whether if it's a Republican in office or a Democrat in office. But I guess we'll just have to wait. U.S. Space Command. I believe this is the last. Oh, no, it's not. I got a couple more after this. So exercise VFC 26-1 linked and allied forces from Australia, Canada, and the UK in a live and virtual battle space. Approximately 310 warfighters completed 7,000 tasks across 31 units, strengthening coalition C2 and interoperability across air, land, and sea, and space and cyber. And we've got this article or possibly a video. I don't know if they got a video or not. So it goes into detail. It looks like they got a couple of images, but virtual flag coalition enhances global partnerships, interoperability, and readiness, which was published yesterday. And it was published by Deb Henley, 505th Command and Congrel Wing Public Affairs. So, yeah, and it goes into details with the collaboration with the UK and Australia and Canada. And that's on Air Combat Command at ACC. .af.mil. And rolling on to the National Guard. On any given day in 2025, roughly 13,000 National Guardsmen were on duty protecting our homeland. When America needed them the most, Guard soldiers and airmen left their homes and families at a moment's notice, supporting local, state, and federal partners across the homeland. Let's check out this video. From the Coast Guard.
National Guard is always ready and always there.
Or no, National Guard, I'm sorry. It's a Coast Guard by accident. It's National Guard. My apologies, National Guardsmen. Yeah, screw the Coast Guard. It's National Guard, man.
I gotcha. At the floor.
Hell yeah, son. Kicking ass and taking names, saving the community, saving the country, keeping shit secure. All right, U.S. Central Command from 13 hours ago. CENTCOM forces remove ISIS operatives in Syria after large-scale strike, which covered a number of days this month. This was not anywhere, at least not in the mainstream news that I saw. In fact, it wasn't even in any of the feeds that I was covering. As I do the Swamp Monday through Friday every single week. I haven't missed a single week since I started back in August, and I haven't seen this mentioned anywhere until just now. So this is out of Tampa, Florida. U.S. and partner forces killed or captured nearly 25 ISIS operatives during the days that followed a December 19th large-scale strike in Syria. U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, and partners across Syria killed at least 7 ISIS members and captured the remainder during 11 missions conducted between December 20th through 29th. The operations also led to the elimination of 4 ISIS weapons caches. These recent missions followed the launch of Operation Hawkeye Strike on December 19th, when U.S. and Jordanian forces struck over 70 targets with more than 100 precision munitions. The massive strike executed by dozens of fighter aircraft, attack helicopters, and artillery destroyed ISIS infrastructure and weapons sites across central Syria. We will not relent, said Admiral Brad Cooper, commander of CENTCOM. We are steadfast in commitment to working with regional partners to root out the ISIS threat posed to U.S. and regional security. In 2025, ISIS inspired at least 11 plots or attacks against targets in the United States. In response, U.S. and partner forces in Syria have conducted operations during the last 12 months that resulted in more than 300 terrorists being detained and over 20 killed. Continuing to hunt down terrorist operatives, eliminate ISIS networks, and work with partners to prevent an ISIS resurgence makes America, the region, and the world safer, said Cooper. And here's an image of the military out in Syria with the American flag. I didn't realize we have boots on the ground. Well, actually, I knew that. Although I believe that didn't Trump during his first administration remove a lot of the military out of Syria, or maybe not. Maybe I misread that, or maybe I'm not remembering the right event. All right, so moving on to U.S. Army. As we wrap up 2025, take a look back at the Army's 250th birthday celebrations. Vote on your favorite photo below. So we've got 4 photos to choose from, and before I forget, I'm going to repost this. You can check that out. Again, a link to my profiles in the description below. It's a direct link straight to it, or you can go to U.S. Army, and this was posted on December 30th at 9:30 a.m. They post all day long, so I like to give the date and the time so that way you can scroll to it if you, by chance, have an X account. All right, so anyway, this is photo number 1. President Donald J. Trump administers the oath of enlistment to soldiers from around the country who are enlisting and re-enlisting on the Army's 250th birthday in Washington, D.C. So that's the first image. And, oh yeah, that's right, it's down here in the thread. All right, so photo number 2, a U.S. Army soldier represents the Revolutionary War era of our nation's history from the 101st Airborne Division, based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, prepares to participate in the 250th Army Birthday Parade on June 14th, 2025 in Washington, D.C. And here's the third image, photo 3. The 3D U.S. Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard soldiers, demonstrate 18th century battlefield tactics during the Lexington 250 ceremony on the Lexington Battle Green, Lexington, Massachusetts, on April 19th of this year, 2025. And finally, the fourth photo, a soldier competes in the Army Fitness Competition during the 250th Army Birthday Festival on the National Mall, Washington, D.C., on June 14th of 2025. That's the last photo, and they give you the option. You can actually choose, and I'm assuming they'll take the one that got the most votes, and they're going to go with that one. So I've already looked through them. I like photo number 3, so I'm going to choose photo number 3. So let's see who... Oh, man, that was the second to last. So photo number 4, it's winning so far. And 301 people have voted so far, 11 hours left. So anybody who happens to watch this within 11 hours of this recording, is currently 10:29 p.m. my time. So, you still got a small window to vote if you feel like voting for that. All right, move on to the final topic. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman leading the world in scientific discovery, pursuing the space economy, and making final preparations for America's return to the moon. 2025 was a strong year for NASA, and I am incredibly proud of the team, but this is just the beginning. This is from NASA. In 2025, we kept the space economy booming, advanced science from the sun to distant stars, and much more. Next year, our NASA Artemis astronauts will fly around the moon, preparing for lunar landings and paving the way to Mars. Learn more about our milestones and what's to come. Don't mind if I do. 2025, year in review.
"2025 was the year NASA put America first in space.
We're not just going back to the moon. We're paving the way to Mars, and every milestone this year proved it.
Hell yeah, we are.
Artemis 2 is fully stacked at Kennedy Space Center, and in just months, 4 astronauts will fly around the moon for the first time in over 50 years.
Gonna be awesome.
This lays the groundwork for America to land on the lunar surface during Artemis 3.
Yes, it will. I think 2027.
And this time, thanks to President Trump's vision, when we get there, we stay.
2 American commercial landers also touched down on the lunar surface. Firefly's Blue Ghost in March.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
Intuitive Machines' IM-2
2 commercial
right
landers
behind
landed on the moon
delivering
this year.
NASA science and proving the space economy is booming. The moon is open for business.
Wow, would you look at that? We're on the moon. Landed on the moon.
We tested new RS-25 engines, certified next-gen lunar spacesuits, and rolled out full-scale moon rovers at the Houston Auto Show.
Oh man, that'd be
the
badass.
Artemis generation is ready.
On the International Space Station, we celebrated 25 years of continuous human presence.
25
While
years.
there, Sunny Williams set the women's spacewalk record with 62 hours in the vacuum of space.
NASA dominated more than just the stars in 2025. We also dominated the skies.
That is a crazy
the
looking
S-59
plane,
took
man.
its maiden voyage, reaching
Built
an
by
altitude
NASA.
of 12,000 feet. This one-of-a-kind experimental jet is pioneering quiet supersonic technology that will one day let American aircraft go higher, farther, faster, and quieter than ever
I was gonna say it's supposed to prevent a sonic boom,
In
or at least the sound of
2025,
it.
science soared. 6 new heliophysics missions launched. The James Webb Space Telescope kept rewriting cosmology.
Hell yeah, it did.
Sphere X mapped the entire sky
Love
in
James Webb
102
Space
colors.
Telescope.
And Parker's solar probe snapped the closest pictures ever taken of the sun.
Wow, that's awesome.
From defending Earth against asteroids to fighting wildfires from the sky.
From quantum breakthroughs to discovering interstellar comets, NASA delivered.
And we are just getting started.
Well,
2025
not really. NASA's been
proves
around
the
for a long
future
time.
belongs to America.
But I get
Just
what you
wait
mean.
till you see what we have in store for 2026.
It's gonna be another good year. Hell yeah. Now that is one administration, one agency that I'm okay with them spending my tax money on. I know they spend an absolute fortune. They spend an absurd amount of money, but you know, NASA's cool though. I like NASA. I've always liked NASA. So anyway, that is it for tonight's episode. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be dropping a new show tomorrow and every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone in it, the politicians, the bureaucracy, the agencies, and also I post daily episodes on X, so feel free to comment there too if you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.